ready?
Is it over?
Coach, what compelled you to come and be at this game in person? Why do you want to be here?
I got invited. That's always step number one. Number two, just brings back a lot of memories. And the success we had at Notre Dame, I can attribute a lot of that to the background I received here at the University of Arkansas. You know, Arkansas, you learned how to really handle the state school. We were the main school in the state, and everybody called the Hogs. And it was easy to recruit here. Always the 12 to 14 good athletes a year in the state of Arkansas that could play for anybody. But it was never highly recruited, so they didn't get a lot of accolades. But they could play, so you had 12 to 14 every year you're going to get, and you go elsewhere to supplement it. Arkansas, Kansas, the list goes on and on. But then what happened is that with the alums, they started thinking that recruiting was a season. And you didn't get the highly recruited athletes because half of them were from your state, nobody ever heard of, but they could play with anybody. And that really made it difficult, particularly with the media trying to say, well, we didn't win. Well, we did on the field, but that wasn't as important because you had 2 seasons and you had to win. But when I went to the University of Notre Dame, it was very similar to Arkansas, except we were a national school. And wherever you went, you represented Notre Dame. Wherever you went in the state, you represented the University of Arkansas. So being able to handle that, so I feel a lot of the success we had at Notre Dame can definitely be attributed to the 7 years I spent here at Arkansas.
You have honorary captain duties and Arkansas gear on, but are your loyalties split today?
Well, let me put it like this. They fired you at one school. They built you a statue at the other. Who do you think you would really cheer for?
Speaking of facilities, statues, what do you think about what has been happening up here?
I just look at this, what they've done here. This is fantastic. And it's amazing what money can do. And I think it a great asset to Notre Dame, to Arkansas, is Walmart, because it's built this area, and it's just beautiful. When you look at the facilities here coming in, you have to be impressed with everything that's going on. And I follow Arkansas, and I cheer for Arkansas every week, but this is the first time they've ever played Notre Dame. But I love the Hogs. Woo Pig Suey, he said as well as anybody, but it was just very, very special. And 3 of my children graduated from high school here, and they called this home. And this was home. This is where we're going to spend the rest of our life. But then it just didn't work out that way. But Skip always said to me, you want to make God laugh, you tell him what your plans are. So he had a plan for us, and he led us in the right direction.
Your 77 team here, how special does that sit in your heart, your first team?
Oh, it's very, very special. And I tried to compare the great athletes at Notre Dame with the great athletes at Arkansas. And they come out pretty comparable. You know, you want to talk about Dan Hampton, and Jimmy Walker never got all the credit, but he was a great player. Gary Anderson, Ron Calcagney, Kevin Scanlon. I mean, these are great competitors. You know, we were blessed. We had good athletes, but they were also good people. And I am proud of Notre Dame in this one respect that they started to lose lads that's now Holtz's heroes, but they take care of the athletes after they leave. They stay in touch with them, they build them, and when a player dies, they assign a player to that family to make sure they have the academic utensils, but more importantly, to make sure that children understand how special their father was, what a good person he was, and they have a legacy to live on. So just they do things like that that are good and positive, and it's run by the players. I don't have an awful lot to do with it. So it's just, you have good people, they do good things after they graduate as well.
How many times have you been back How long has it been since you've been back?
Second time. First time I came back, Skip was coaching at
Louisiana Tech.
Louisiana
He was at
Tech.
Louisiana Tech.
was it Louisiana
Yes.
Tech?
Oh, just a couple
He
years ago.
came here and he lost by 1 point or something late in the game. He had the thing won, and that's when the officials. I always had trouble with the officials, but it's part of the game. I'm more patient with the officials now that I'm out of it. But it's
That was the 2016 game, right? I think.
yeah.
Coach was inducted in Hall of Honor that week.
That's right. What does it mean to you to have former players want you back up here? I mean, Arkansas players to get you back here for this game.
It convinces me that the toughness that we showed as a coach and showed up as a player will show up now in their senior years, the same things. But, as a coach, you don't say, well, is this popular? What are the players going to think? You do what you feel in your heart is right and proper. We had 3 rules. The do-right rule, which everybody in Arkansas knows, the do-right rule, that was led to the Orange Bowl. And just be the very best you can be. Not everybody be a student, not everybody be all conference, but everybody can be the best. And let's show people we genuinely care. And you do that in a lot of different ways. And you show players you care by having good standards. And the greatest mistake that people make in a leadership role is they want to be well-liked, they want to be popular. And so they lower the standards to keep people happy. And that's the greatest disservice you can do to somebody, is not to believe in their greatness or believe in the different things they can achieve. And we always had a dream and a goal with the players. And I believe in the players sometimes more than they believe themselves, but they don't understand that till after they leave and they find out that the same rules you had as a football player will work as a husband, as a father, as a businessman, etc. It isn't real complicated. I was in the lower third of my high school class. I mean, I don't feel like I have many answers, but in my heart, I know how I feel about setting standards for people. And then you don't say, if you don't reach these, you're gone. You say, I'm going to show you how to reach them, but you don't ever lower the standard. And that's true at Notre Dame, it's true at Arkansas.
Did you ever think you'd see this matchup get played?
No, I really did. But, that's something that the athletic directors have to do. And one thing about Notre Dame and one thing about Arkansas, you don't need this matchup to fill the stadium. In Arkansas, you sweep out the stadium and people will fill it up just to watch. There's just something special about Arkansas and Notre Dame. These are 2 schools that are really special for different reasons, but they're very, very similar. One's a national school, and one is just the best state in the country.
We're from South Bend, Indiana. How much growth have you seen from head coach Marcus Freeman at Notre
Pardon?
Dame? How much growth have you seen from head coach Marcus Freeman as his head coaching career at Notre Dame?
Oh, I think Marcus Freeman, I talked to him a couple times. I usually talk to a coach when they lose. They don't need me when they win. All the runs are telling them how great they are. But when they lose is what I like to talk about. And I offer my opinion. I never offer advice. Advice said this is what you ought to do. Opinion said this is what I feel, and here's what I had and why I chose. And now you go do what you want. But I think Marcus Freeman is a great person, a great coach, and is really coming along. And experience makes you a better coach. You're going to lose sometimes. You don't want to, but the alums make it so distasteful you don't want to lose again. But I also am very impressed with what Arkansas has done. When coach came here, Coach Pittman, I think it is, from Georgia. I followed Arkansas. I followed Arkansas since the days I left here, and I'll follow it to the day I die. And 3 of my children call this home.
Can Arkansas compete for a college football playoff spot in the current climate with the portal and all this, the new things?
Yeah, I definitely think it can. Say the first thing you do, you eliminate the ceiling. You eliminate the negative. These are liabilities, but we also have some great assets that nobody else has for. And while we're on it, I think that the transfer portal is terrible. I think you ought to be able to transfer one time after your sophomore year, one time. And I think that nil is bad also. Let's go back and let's educate ourselves a little bit now. Why did we have athletics in college? Because at one time, the Ivy League had the biggest stadiums, Yale, Harvard, etc. They had college football because it's a great learning lesson. I learned more in the military than I ever learned in a college classroom. I learned more on a football field than I ever learned in a college classroom. But they had athletics because of a great lesson in teamwork and self-confidence, perseverance, and working together. And that's why it came. And we've lost all that with the money. And you talk to Nick Saban, and Nick Saban went to Kent State where I did. And we're both born in West Virginia, incidentally. But when he lost in a playoff game, so he had a team meeting. And he said at the team meeting, they wanted to talk about what they had to correct. They came so close, and all the players wanted to talk about was playing time and amount of money they're going to get. That's not what athletics is all about. Let's do a study and see how many of these people that transferred to 4 different schools in 4 years, a quarterback started at Southern Cal, ended up at Rice. What kind of education did he get? What kind of context did he have? What's his future look like? And 50% of the professional football players, I understand, die broke. Now, when I was in college, we didn't have any money, but you bought what you could afford, not what you wanted. People say you need a haircut. I don't need a haircut. Go look in the mirror. I don't look in the mirror. I look at my wallet. My wallet says you don't need a haircut. That's the way you had to learn to grow up, and you learn to appreciate money and take good advantages of it.
What do these two teams need to learn from your brand of football?
Pardon?
What do these two teams need to learn from your brand of football in the 80s?
Who need?
What do the two teams need to learn from your brand of football?
Number one, I had a plan on how to win. I had a plan on how to win in William Mary, and changed slightly by the time I got to Arkansas, and not much when I got to Notre Dame. The plan to win isn't real complicated. And I always felt you had to have a plan to win, because most of the time I went into a losing situation. I never inherited a winning football team and ended in 6th place. But you had to have a plan to sell the players. And even when your first year, we're in South Carolina, we didn't win a game. Next year we beat Ohio State in the bowl game on January 1 because you could sell something. First of all, we have to be the most physical football team. That's why you have on pads. I really disliked some of the roughing the quarterback. I mean, that's part of the game. Number 2, we have to be the best fundamental team. We got to be able to block and tackle better than anybody else can. Then let's protect the football. That football is so important. You realize, ladies and gentlemen, they even named a game after it. That's how important it is. If they named a game, you got to take care of it. If you got, and then, we have to play well on the goal line, and we have to excel in the kicking game. Do you realize 1 out of every 6 plays in a football game is some form of a kick? That we must excel in that area. So, I mean, there was just a plan that you could look and say, we did succeed in these areas. It wasn't what they did, it's what we did. And we always try to get where we would be held accountable for the actions.
See these guys coming in, what do you remember about them?
Who?
Those guys coming in, some of your former players.
Well, I tried to compare some of the great athletes we had at Arkansas and with the ones we had at Notre Dame. And very, very similar. We had great football players in both places. We had Tim Brown, we had Rocket Ishmael, but we also had Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson's the greatest football player I've seen that never got the publicity he should have. He played in 4 bowl games, was MVP in 3 of them. And the last bowl game, I said, wear a coat and tie, we're going out to dinner at the bowl game. Gary Anderson did not have a coat and tie, which tells you how important money is. But he married a beautiful young lady. He was a great teammate. He's a great leader, but he's also a great player, very underrated as a player.